Good evening, ladies and gentlemen and children. My name is Salome Hydes. I'm a nurse in England. I'm a health educator. Before becoming a nurse, I was a teacher, qualified to be a teacher, and now I'm a nurse and I'm a health educator. Good evening, and I hope you're all doing well with your family. Welcome to the health show on the Then and Now platform with me, Salome Hydes. For the next couple of weeks, we want to be talking about our culture and how it impacts our health. From wherever you are watching me, I say welcome and please always join us because I am here to educate, throw light on some of the things that we already know, but we just need people or we need someone to keep reminding us of what we are supposed to do as far as our health is concerned. So, like I said, we are going to be talking about how our culture impacts our health. Our culture is the characteristics which we share as a people, whether you're an African, you're a Caucasian, wherever you are from the world or in the world, you have a culture. But there are lots of people who seem to be forgetting where they come from. They forget their culture completely, not only adapting to a culture where they find themselves, they just adopt wherever they find themselves, adopt to that culture and forget about their own culture altogether. So what do we mean when we say our culture? There is no being in this world that hasn't got a culture. Even animals have cultures because you can find them grouped together. If you go to a pride, you see the lions, they're all together. You see the giraffes, the wild beasts. This is their culture. They're all together, but when they are in a particular setting, that is what they do. They are together. In the wild, sometimes they mix. But for us humans, it's what we do, our characteristics. For instance, our language defines what culture we're coming from, our belief systems, the codes that we live by, our customs and traditions, the way we dress, the way we bury our dead, the way we perform our marriages, our naming ceremonies. Every culture has a different way of doing what we do best, living together. In farming, the tools we use. In hunting, the way we set our traps. Marriages, like I said, they all traditions. It's all different cultures. We have a group of people like Africans. You have people from the Northern African region, you have the Southerners, you have the Western Africans, you have the Eastern Africans. These are all a group of people, but they all do things differently. The way a West African will conduct a wedding ceremony or a burial or a christening or a naming ceremony would far differ from when somebody who lives in the south of the same continent is doing. So our culture is our way of life. Our culture is what defines us as a people. We have the Caucasians that have their own culture. Our religion, laws, these are all things that makes us who we are. For the next couple of weeks, we'll be talking about this culture and how it's impacting on our health, but in particular, food. We have diseases called the non-communicable diseases, and these diseases are derived from majority what we eat. And different cultures have different ways of eating their food, different ways of even cooking, different ways of doing everything because that's their culture. But because of migration and urbanization, lots of cultures have changed or have evolved over the past decades. How our ancestors used to live, hunt, and do their farming is far more different than how farming and hunting and living as a community is today. The way people live has been different because of migration. You go to Iceland, you see multitude of nations. You come to the United Kingdom, the Americas, the China, and if you check, there were times when these people were never infiltrated. They were just there. And the Africans is the same thing. There were times when you only find Africans in Africa. But now, because of urbanization, migration, everybody is going to different areas to seek for greener pastures. And as we migrate, we take our cultures. But it is left with us as a people to still practice what your ancestors have. But is it possible today to do that? I doubt. Because some of us copy, like I've said before, we adapt or we adopt, or we just copy and forget completely from where we come from. Things have changed. The way we eat have changed. Our food growth have changed. Food security. Where are our foods grown now? Because I started this program today to actually talk about our culture and how it impacts our health. Because all the diseases we are suffering from today, the chronic diseases, is all because of change of cultures, urbanization, and where we have found ourselves. What are some of the things that actually make us do what we do when it comes to our health? Different cultures have different perception of health. The way people look at death is different. Gender roles. In some cultures, it's the woman who take the healing power, and they are the mothers. They are the ones we consult when things go wrong. What are our health beliefs? Some ethnic groups have tolerance for certain medications, some don't. Some cultures believe in traditional healing, while some are skeptical about modern medicine. Those are our health beliefs. Language. If you find yourself in a situation or in a country where the language you speak is not spoken there, or the language they speak there is not your first language, so even meet a healthcare professional, explain to them what you're feeling. That language barrier will make you not explain what you wanted to say because of language barrier, even if an interpreter was involved. By the time you finish explaining what your symptoms are, and the interpreter actually saying what you have just said to them, is going to change drastically. So language barrier is one thing that impacts our health if we find ourselves in a place where the language they speak is not our first language. So language barrier is very important. Even when you have interpreters, it's still very important because words have different meaning in different cultures. So there are people who still had migrated, but because of their culture, because they are so stoic in their culture, they are so deep set, in their minds, you cannot let them say no to what they have been trained to believe. You tell them that this is what is good for you, they will still refuse and tell you, no, it's not. They will be in denial. Say, for instance, we have lots of people who come over to other countries from their cultural countries and get ill. They will prescribe medication for them, modern medication. They will refuse to take that medication and say, I don't know this medication. And this is going to impact, just like languages we prove to be bad if it's not understood, it gives about low health outcome because of misunderstanding of diagnosis and adherence with medication. So what we should do is always seek help from the family. In some cultures, you can't treat one person. It has to be with everybody. But in some cases, infectious diseases like HIV/AIDS, mental health, the stigmatization and the stereotyping of these diseases will actually make the sufferer not confining any family member. They might as well just keep their mouth shut, sit there and suffer in silence because they don't want anybody to know about their problem. Like chronic diseases, if you have a family history of a chronic disease and you have manifested the symptoms and the signs, it's just more proper for you to bring other family members so all of you will be advised on what to do. But when it comes to illnesses or conditions like mental health, sexually transmitted diseases like HIV or AIDS or mental health, you don't have people coming to you with open hands or with open mind telling you, oh yes, I've got mental health problems, I want you to tell my whole community. It's not going to happen because they won't do it. And this is going to bring a bad outcome of their health. Like I was saying, there are people who are here in United Kingdom who are coming from other cultures. They will prescribe their medication. They will refuse to take this medication because one, they don't believe in modern medicines. But even after saying that, you don't believe in modern medicine, but how religiously do you take your herbs? The herbs we have in Africa, which our ancestors have used forever and ever, work. But how do we take them? Do we take them religiously? Do we put our faith in these herbs so that we get the cure? No, we don't. We drink those herbs or apply those herbs to wherever we have problems just for a few times because we want the quick fix. We want the magic. And then we get tired because we've not seen the quick fix. We've not seen the miracle. We just leave and we perish. The other thing that impacts health is religion. Religion plays a very important role in our culture as well. Religion itself is a culture, is a way of life. There are certain food stuff that culturally is wrong to eat. For instance, pork. Pork is defined as unclean by many cultures, by many religions. Sometimes, if you're ill and you're having crisis, there are some religious groups that cannot take blood transfusion because it's against their doctrine. And this will prove a poor health outcome, because if you need blood, you need to take that blood. And if you don't take it, it's a poor health outcome. So religion again plays a very important role when it comes to how our culture impacts our health. Now, there is fasting. Whether you're a Christian, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Jewish, fasting is being observed by most religions. And if you have a condition that forbids you from fasting, and the head of your congregation says you should fast, you will definitely ignore whatever your healthcare professional has said and just go to do what the religion has said. There are some religious groups that will say, you don't need medication, all you need is prayer. And then you forego your medication, you don't comply, or you don't adhere to your instructions that have been given you. And what happens to you? You're gonna perish, because what religion says is what you believe in, and you stop taking your medication, or you fast and you perish. So this is how religion impacts our health, because religion itself has a whole culture of its own. It's a way of life, and there are people who are so religious that you cannot change their doctrine. There's nothing you can do to let them change what their belief system is. So this is how religion plays a role in our health outcomes. Culture is referred to many people as a way of life. It includes the manners and ways that we live ourselves. Some cultures are so good that everything is plus, 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 plus. Some cultures are not so good. There are some minuses there, minuses there, minuses there. For instance, migrants in the UK and other parts of the world have diverse range of culture and spiritual, religious beliefs and practices. Health beliefs and values are different amongst many cultures. Differences between cultures are the language we speak, the way we live our lives. Even in some cultures, the houses they build is for a reason. And when you find yourself in another culture and those houses are different, it becomes a problem. In the UK, the insecurity of immigration status, the language barrier, housing, discrimination, lack of trust between the healthcare providers and the people impacts health. But we cannot say we cannot migrate. We can't say, oh, we're not going to go to England, or we're not going to go to the Americas because of this or because of that. Everybody is looking for a greener pastures. So this is what we do. We migrate, but there are so many challenges. So many challenges. We cannot name all the challenges that we face when we come to these countries. There are so many challenges. So our belief systems, the way we look at health, the way we look at stuff like mental health, infectious diseases, are all things we do as cultural people. As a people, everybody has a different way of adapting to other cultures. But like I said, what I really want us to think about is how our food and our food security have actually played a role in our health. Most chronic diseases, I repeat, most chronic diseases that we are having, be it coronary heart disease, be it the diabetes, be it hypertension, and the cancers, most of these diseases we get from what we eat. There are some cultures who believe in whole foods, fruits, vegetables. There is mango, there is papaya, which we call pawpaw, there is pear, apples. These are all whole foods, and they encouraging us, they tell us every day, eat fruits that are natural. Don't even drink fruit juices. Get the fruit itself because that's whole. There are people who believe in eating lots of red meat. And we know, we've heard this from time immemorial. We have hearing this, that red meat is not good for us. You eat lots of red meat, lots of carbohydrates. What happens to you? You get obese, overweight. You develop chronic diseases like coronary heart disease. You got blocked arteries, diabetes, hypertension, and some cancers. These are all stuff that we eat, and they're not doing us any favor. They're making us sick. If you look at processed foods, like I said, think about the common ketchup that we eat with chips. Think about your mayonnaise. Think about your sausage, your bacon, your ham. These are all processed foods. They've been processed and they're put on the shelf. You eat them, they have lots of salt. They make you put on weight. They'll make you develop high blood pressure. And if you look at the ketchup that I just named and the mayonnaise, they have lots of preservatives. They have lots of sugars and salt because this is what makes them last long on the shelf. In particular, I don't eat mayonnaise anymore. I don't eat ketchup, and I will not buy that from here and take it to my people, wherever they are, to say, oh, ketchup is good for you, or mayonnaise is good for you, or bacon, or ham, or sausages. I will not do it. Now I've learned that what I don't eat, I don't give my family members. Because if you live in a diaspora and you buy these things and take to your people, when they are sick, you are the first person they will call. Oh, I'm suffering from high blood pressure. It's just the food you buy for them and they're eating it. Maybe you're not eating it. You have lots of options here, but you're giving it to them. You will have to pay for their medication. So this is what the foods do to us. So they're encouraging us to have whole foods. If you come from Africa, there are seasons where you have loads of fruits. Indulge, even overindulge in eating your fruits, as long as you're healthy. Let that fruit be your main meal or one of your meals for the day. Having said something about whole food or main meal, our ancestors, when they used to eat, they eat with their hands. But now, when you eat with your hands, if you're in England or America, wherever you are, you eat with your hands, they will look at you like you're backward. But when you feel that food between your fingers, you touch it, and you eat mindfully, because we have mindful eating. You can't be eating watching TV. You can't be eating talking to your friend. If your friend calls you and you're eating, just say, look, when I finish my meal, because you need to concentrate on that food. You need to feel the texture of that food in your mouth. You need to feel the food. But if you're eating with fork and knife, you don't even feel but they'll tell you you're backward if you eat with your hand. So this is how our ancestors used to eat. What I was saying about main meal, they never used to eat 3 times a day. They'll eat a big meal. Maybe they've gone hunting, they've got their catch, or they went fishing, they got their catch, they come, prepare that, and it's for everybody to eat. After that one meal, with their hands in the community, all the children in one bowl, the adolescents in one bowl, the women in one bowl, the men in one bowl. It's a good feeling. That's a culture, and it's a cultural thing. They eat and feel that food with their hands, and they feel that food in their mouth. They know the texture of the food. But here, how do we even eat? You're going to work, you get up in the morning, you don't eat. You go to work, you start eating biscuits, biscuit, cup of tea, biscuit, cup of tea. At the end of the day, you're putting on weight, you're becoming unhealthy. You come home, 10 o'clock in the night, you eat. I don't believe in, like, when people say, I can't eat in the night. Your stomach doesn't know if it's nighttime or it's daytime. It doesn't. So if you train yourself, I have somebody who have trained himself to eat only run about 10 in the night. Once he eats 10 in the night, gives himself like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and goes to bed, he will not eat again until evening time the next day, because he's full. He's always telling me, this is how I eat. Because I'm always saying to him, why do you eat so late? As I'm eating now, I'm not going to eat till after 15 hours. And it's working good for him. He's not putting on weight. I've never seen him sick. Apart from colds and this, he hasn't got no chronic disease. That is how he has trained himself. And we need to know our body and train ourselves on how to live. If we have left our culture, we have left where we know as home, and we've had another home. When you're in this home, don't forget your culture. We're not saying carry everything, but like they said, like Britain is a multicultural society. We have lots of our foods coming in. But what is it that is coming in? Apart from the raw stuff that we see. Now, we have pounded yam, we have ground rice, we have plantain flour. Everything that we have in Africa that we eat fresh has been powdered. So, what is in there? Our food security has changed drastically. We have lots of pesticides. Our foods are grown with fertilizers. We have genetically modified foods. Now you eat tangerines, you have oranges with no seeds. Maybe before we were born, there were no fruits that had no seeds. Oranges grow from seeds. Tangerines or lemon or all these watermelon, they all grow from seeds. But now you can eat a whole orange, maybe even 5 oranges, you won't see one seed. So our food security had been compromised. It has lots of pesticides, it's been modified. We'll still eat them, but what you do is, please, just eat all these foods in moderation, because you don't know what they're doing to your body when they go in. Somebody will tell you, I eat lots of fruits. Someone will tell you, I eat lots of greens. But where are these greens harvested? Where are they planted? Where are they cultivated? Our food security had been compromised because of global warming. People are doing artificial greenhouses just so that they make money. But you have to be aware of what you eat, because what we eat is what is making us who we are today when it comes to our health. Our health is being compromised by things that we eat. Things that we eat and things that we drink. Our ancestors used to drink maybe gin that is produced locally, but they never used to have cirrhosis of the liver. They used to drink water that is not tap water, but they have never suffered from kidney disease because that water is clean for them. But as we have migrated, lots of things have happened to us. Let's not forget our culture. Let's not forget where we come from. If you look at other cultures, like the Chinese, they believe in their herbs. You go to a Chinese shop or a pharmacy, you ask them, I'm suffering from this, I'm suffering from that. They have herbs for everything. But we as a people, as Africans, how are we embracing our herbs? Are we taking them seriously? When we have these diseases, are they curable? Our belief systems, when it comes to our culture, can be compromised. Because when people suffer from certain diseases like mental health, lots of people, lots of culture look at mental health differently. Some people don't think mental health is a problem. Some people think mental health is something that somebody has to do something to you to have mental illness. There are cultures who don't believe in chemical imbalance in the brain. There are cultures who believe that even if you have a diabetic sore that is not healing, it's somebody that had done that to you. They will attribute everything to witchcraft, to voodoo, to bad people. Oh, it's my village people. They have followed me. They've done this to me. Go to the hospital and check yourself. No, I can't go to hospital. Or even when they are learned, they are educated. Go to the hospital and check yourself. No, I am not going to the hospital to check myself. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the village and get healing, which is not good. Or I am going to go to the church. Miracles do happen in churches. Don't get me wrong. I'm not criticizing churches. But if you're sick, what you do is you try your best to seek the medical help that you require. People don't believe that sicknesses can be natural. People can die without being sick. So illnesses can be natural. But most of the sicknesses that we suffer from is from the things we eat. That's why we are saying here. That is why I am saying here that you need to watch what you eat. Follow your tradition. Follow your culture. Follow your tradition. Follow your culture. Follow and eat what your ancestors were eating if you have the chance to do that. Because only then that you can live a stress-free or a moderate, healthy life. Because no one is healthy 100%. There must be something going on in your body that you don't know. So, culturally, we as a people, we don't do screening. We don't do tests. We only go to hospitals when we are sick. But this should be a warning for us all that no matter where you find yourselves, no matter how healthy you feel or you think you are, always do your routine checks, which is very good. Culturally, we are not that kind of person. Or sometimes, depending on where we come from, we don't take health seriously unless we see now that it's time. Death is just round the corner. That's when we try to go for that help. And when you go for that help, what happens? It's too late. So, as we are now at risk of all these chronic diseases because of the food we eat, let's go back to our roots. Let's go back to our cultural foods. I know our foods have revolved the way we eat. Our food security has changed, I keep saying. But if you can't afford to eat what your ancestors used to eat, it will be very good for you. It's difficult because we here in the UK or the Americas, even Australia, for a proper traditional African food to reach those shores is very difficult. It's going to be expensive because if you think about the airfare that these businesses are paying to bring these foods over, is very expensive. But hey, we are all here. You have to eat. Or when you go to holidays or you go for holidays, you go to different areas, just overindulge in what you think is good for your body. If not, you're just here eating processed foods. It's not going to be good for you. Our eating habits, I keep saying, have changed. Our food constitution have changed. Global warming has made our food security very, very bad. But as a people, we can still survive. We can still live. We can still do things that are good for our health. Because they say we are what we eat. So we need to actually embrace our culture again and eat the foods that we think are good for us. If you are diabetic, there are lots of advice, information out there. Now, you can all agree with me that we have so many groups, whether in England, whether in America, whether in Africa, we have people who are now doing their research on actually identify herbs, foods that are good for us. Here in the UK, we have health shops that sell the mango leaf as a tea, mango leaf. When you go to any African country, maybe every other tree you see is a mango tree. But do we embrace that? Do we actually go and say, okay, this is mango. What can we do with it? Not just eating the fruits. What can we do with the back of the mango tree? What do we do with the leaves? I have bought mango leaf as a tea in England, and we have in Africa. But do we embrace that? My people, we need to go back to our roots. We need to embrace what our ancestors used to do. We have lots of food. We have our sweet potato, we have our breadfruit, we have our pumpkin, we have the yam, we have our cassava. Most of these things have their downside, but if you eat them moderately, you eat them in moderation, nothing is going to happen to you. Just in moderation, don't overindulge. Talking about overindulgence, what we eat and what we drink, everything we put in our body has a repercussion, especially if it's too much. Tobacco, alcohol, drugs. All of you know what's going on in some African countries. Loads of drugs just emerge from these countries. God knows where they're coming from. And you want to know the repercussion. You want to know how youths are perishing because of all of this. No control over nothing. But we still have a lot to do. Let's educate our people. Let's embrace our culture. I'm not saying when you're in any other cultural setting, you should defy or you will not comply with whatever they say. But deep down, know that this is not your place, that you have your own culture. You have your own kinds of food you eat. You have your own kind of things you do as a people. Don't just say, oh, I'm in England now or I'm in America. Because I hear lots of our friends say, I don't eat all these your African foods. I eat this, I eat that. Your African food is your African food because it is healthy. Instead of the potatoes we find here, your Red skin potato, your white skin potato that comes from Africa is good for you. The glycemic level of those foods are so low, and you eat them in moderation. Those are the whole food. Those are the fibers. Those are the plant-based foods that we're supposed to be eating. We should go back to our roots and eat and appreciate what our people have eaten. There were no premature deaths. If you go 100 years back in typical cultural African society, there was no diabetes, there was no hypertension. The cancers, when did we start hearing about the cancers in our cultural rural areas? It's but recent. Why? Because of migration, I keep saying, and because of urbanization. We want to eat all these processed foods, forgetting that our own foods, be however expensive they are, because like I was saying, when they travel with these foods from wherever they are being planted or cultivated or harvested, for them to reach in the diaspora is going to be very expensive. But hey, you can afford it no matter what. That little that you eat and think of home, the little that you can eat and think that you're doing the right thing, you put in the right substances into your body, is good for you, for your health. Not only you, you have a family, you do it for everybody. Because the things that we are suffering from today, the hypertension, the diabetes, the cancers, the chronic pulmonary disease, or the lung disease we're suffering from today, is what we have been fed with since we were children. The sugars, you see mothers, when the baby is crying, they'll buy lollipop. It's just coloring and sugar. The soft drinks we have back home are not our cultural drinks. We don't even have a cultural drink. It's water. The dirty water running in our streams is what we know as water, but it never killed anybody. Yes, the cholera will come, but it doesn't come in one household. People have lived. As a people, we are very resilient. There are things that will not kill us. We kill them instead. So it's what we eat that is making us get all this. I keep saying urbanization is what we have exposed ourselves to. We have left our own culture, adapted or adopted other cultures to the extent that we don't even appreciate our own foods and our herbs and our way of life. I said a minute ago that I have seen loads of people saying, I can't eat these African foods, they give me rash. From where? So continue to eat what you want to eat, but know ye that what you put in your body is what will give you the longevity that you need for your life. If you want to be well, so be it. If you want to be sick, welcome. It's your life. You deal with it as you want to do it. We are here to give advice on all these things. It's not like everything I have said people don't know. People know almost everything I have spoken about. People know. But we need to reinforce the knowledge. We need to let people know that we need to embrace our culture. There is no people that don't have a culture. Let's not forget our culture. Let us eat what our ancestors have been eating. Let's drink water. Hydrate yourself. Our body is full of water. So drinking more water will just flush out your toxins from your body. Your organs will be happy for you. What we eat is what is giving us all these chronic diseases, because some of us have neglected our culture, have neglected what we know, and have adopted or just adapted what we think is easy. Some cultures believe in traditional healing. some don't. And there are people who say, I will not take paracetamol for headache because that's the common thing. I'm not prescribing here, but everybody knows when you have a little headache, you take paracetamol. There are people who believe that when I have headache, I'm going to take a whole glass of water and just relax myself. After 10, 15 minutes, my headache is gone. Maybe I'm dehydrated. That's why I'm constipated. I'm going to drink 3 glasses of water first thing in the morning. That is going to work for me. And I'll open my bowels. So all these things are things that we hear every day. These are things that people have spoken about from time immemorial. So all we're doing here is just reinforce it. Because people are dying every day. People are dying prematurely. People used to live long. Our people used to walk barefoot. Walk. They will walk from one village to the other without shoes. Now, if they see you walking on the street with no shoes, they will tell you you're backward or you're poor. But do you know that all the chemicals we have in our body, if you walk barefoot for some time, you actually get rid of that, because when your foot hits nature, when you're barefoot with no shoes on hits Mother Earth, it takes out some of those toxins from your body. Do you know that? You can research that, and then you will know that when you walk barefoot, you will eliminate lots of chemicals from your body, because we're taking so much. See how we are glued to our mobile phones. Do we know the radioactive materials that we have in mobile phones? Bright lights on our screens. Do we know what's happening to our eyes? But when you hit that food on Mother Earth, the toxins it takes out of your system is unbelievable. There are so many things you can do now as a cultured person. You need to embrace your culture. Sound. Sound has power to heal. Now we have loads of, I'm not talking about people in developing countries, but if you find yourself in the diaspora, there are lots of things going on. You have people practicing yoga, tai chi, you have people listening to sound, you have lots of therapies that people believe in this. I have seen people who tell me I'm diabetic, but I'm not taking medication. That's their choice. But they doing it properly. They didn't just jump into it. The next day say, I'm not going to take medication. I'm going to go natural. You need to understand what you're doing. There are people in this country that we know, whether it's their culture, fighting the urbanization in them, they will prescribe them dialysis for cleansing of their blood because their kidneys have packed. They will refuse to go for dialysis, and those toxins will kill them. There are people who they will say you have this health condition. They will not go for medication. They will say they're doing natural things. It's not bad to do something natural, but what you want to do is do it properly. Do whatever you want to do as a cultured person. Do it the culture way and do it religiously. Don't take the medicine one day, 1 week, 2 weeks, then you get tired because you haven't seen the quick fix. Don't do that. Do something that you know is going to help you. Like I was saying, the way we eat our food today, the way we react to medication, the way we live our life, the things we eat, the things we drink, all has got impact on our health and well-being. Our culture impacts our health. My advice is let's go back to our roots. Poor eating habits, food security, food choices, factors responsible for global warming, abundance of diseases. This is not all magic. This is not just something that happened yesterday. It is happening because of who we are and what we are doing to ourselves. Our foods have changed. Now we have loads of, you go to the marketplace, you see how many kinds of rice there is. Which one is the proper rice that we can eat? Our yam had turned into flour. Our plantains are now flour. What have we got in those? Preservatives. What are they mixed with? Do we know? Sometimes you see on Facebook, people are talking about rice being plastic. Oh, I bought a rice, it's plastic. I bought um salt fish. It's plastic. It can't boil. It can't be softened. I've boiled it for hours. This is how people are playing with our health. So don't buy stuff that you don't know. Go for your own traditional stuff. Don't buy what you don't know because you saw that person buy salt fish. You don't know salt fish. You go buy it. Buy what you know. Fresh yam is there but expensive. Fresh plantain is there. The ripened one is there. Only that you have to be careful when you eating like the ripened plantain because it's sweet, just like the ripe banana. But everything you do in moderation is good for you. Like I said before, as we are now, we are big, we are obese, we have all these chronic diseases. It's what we have been fed with when we were small. There were times when you can't find obese people in some cultural settings. Everybody is slim, straight cut, no fat, no bigness, no big tummy, nothing. But today, the healthy foods are expensive. The cheap foods are cheap. The cheap foods are unhealthy, but they are cheap. That is what most people afford. The healthy foods are expensive. So what we need to do is go back to our roots. I bet you if you pound your yam, you eat your whole grain rice, you will not feel that full. In fact, if you eat white rice, by the time you finish eating your white rice, whatever sauce you're eating with, you feel so heavy. It's like you swallow the whole stone. But if you eat something that is healthy, plant-based, if you boil your sweet potato and you eat it with your stew, cooked with nice oil, because we have lots of oils. Even the oils, you have coconut oil, you have rapeseed oil, you have palm oil, all these sunflower oil, all these things. You have to look for the oils that are healthy. 1 minute you hear people say the coconut oil is healthy, the palm oil is healthy, but eat everything in moderation because these are our traditional foods. We harvest the palm oil, we produce our coconut oil. They are healthy, they are organic, but eat them in moderation. You go to the supermarket shelf, you see stuff, they tell you this is organic and it's very expensive. How do you know it's organic? Where is it coming from? So we need to read our labels. If you're in the diaspora, read your labels. Where you see red for salt, don't touch that product. We are what we are. Let's go back to our roots. The Maggie cubes that we cook today. When I was growing up as a child, I never knew what Maggie was. My mom never had, maybe she didn't have the privilege to purchase a cube in the market to cook for us, but we enjoyed that food. Today, we cook salt, we cook Maggie. Choose what? Use lots of spices for your food. Go back to your roots. Spices, spices, spices. They will flavor your food so nicely. I know we cook our African dishes, but do everything in moderation. Salt reduction is very, very important. So this is how our culture had impacted our health. The language we speak, if it's not understood, by healthcare professionals, you will be given a wrong diagnosis. And if you're giving wrong diagnosis, what happens? You'll be taking wrong medication. So you need to do something so that people will understand you. If you have an ailment, you have a condition, and you find yourself in the diaspora and you want to make sure you're treated accurately, you need to know how you're presenting your case to your healthcare provider, because language interpreted will have a whole different meaning. Our health beliefs. How do we look at illness? How do we even perceive of death? Do we care about death? How do we perceive illnesses? Are illnesses curable? Some people from other cultures will tell you, I don't believe in this illness. It doesn't exist. This illness is not from God. It's man-made. Somebody has done this for me, so I'm not even going to go to hospital. Go to hospital. Let your health belief not jeopardize your healing process. Go to hospital. They will run tests. They will tell you what's wrong with you. Even people from developing countries now have all these luxury of tests. They will do your MRI, they will do your echo, they will do your ECG, everything. But language plays a vital part in our health, and it impacts our health. If your case is not presented accurately, you'll be given wrong diagnosis and you'll perish because you'll be taking the wrong medication. Whatever you're suffering from will not be cured because it's not what is wrong with you that they're giving you medication for. Religion plays a vital role as well. There are certain religious groups, like I said, that doesn't take medication, doesn't take certain, comply with certain programs that they set for them, fasting. All of these are things that impact our health. The health outcomes, depending on where you find yourself, how are you going to present your case? Is it as a family? Who is the head of that family? The father that doesn't want to go to hospital, that will not go to hospital until death is very close? Is it the mom who is the caregiver, who is the doctor, the teacher, the everything? Will you believe her to go and represent you with your healthcare provider? What are the foods you're eating? Are they the healthy options? Are you eating lots of processed food? Are you eating processed foods like sausages, bacons, ham, mayonnaise, tin food, prepared food, ready-made foods? Are you eating lots of fries that is going to give you heart disease? How are you cooking your food? Is it steamed? Are you roasting? Are you baking? Are you frying? These are all cultural things. The way you prepare your food is very important. Smoking your food, barbecue, is not the best option because that's smoke again. Too much of it, smoke stuff, like you have smoke mackerel, smoke this, smoke that. It's not the best, but you can still have it in moderation. It might be better than frying. It's when you fry with all these unhealthy oils and you eat them, they will give you something to do with your heart. And at the end of the day, from whichever culture you're coming from, you're going to attribute it to witchcraft, or your father's next wife is doing something to you, or the people from your village are following you, or you had a quarrel with somebody who has done something to you, or you have a diabetic sore that is not healing, and it's somebody that had done voodoo with you, that had given you this soul, all these beliefs that we have. It's part of our culture. Nobody's going to take that from us. But with time, things that had happened or things that are still happening, we need to go to our culture, revisit, and pick out what you think is good for you. But only know that today, this present day, this day and age, this time in history, whether you're from a developing country, whether you're in the Americas, whether you're in the United Kingdom, China, Australia, wherever you find yourself, know that whatever you're putting in your body is what is determining your health. Whether you're going to be healthy or you're going to be unhealthy is this that we are eating and drinking. Food, beverages, tobacco, drugs, alcohol, these are the things that as a people of culture, we need to be careful with what we are eating, because they're not doing you any favors. They will make you perish. You can eat anything you want to eat, I say to people, but know your body, because your body will tell you how it's feeling when you eat certain things. When you drink lots of alcohol, you know how your body tells you you've taken too much alcohol. On that note, I want to leave you. I'll come again with more tips on this health show. We'll talk one more time about our culture and our health. And then from there, the diseases that we are getting, the conditions that we are suffering from because of what we eat, would be spoken about. We'll raise awareness of certain diseases and illnesses, outlining their signs and symptoms. So if they start manifesting in you, you will know that this is what I'm suffering from and this is what I need to do. Until next time, that's what I want us to do. Go over this video, watch it, take the advice. I'm praying that there will be a session wherein it will be interactive, where we will ask questions, where we would make our own contributions and educate everybody. Our health is our wealth. So that's what we need to do. I'll be on every first and third Thursdays of every month. The first Thursday of every month, I will come to you with some health awareness information every first and last Thursdays of every month. I'm sorry. The first Thursdays of every month and the last Thursdays of every month, I will come to you with some sort of information on health that is good for you or for us all. I bid my farewell now. I hope you enjoyed the video. You can ask questions, send it to the then and now, and your questions will be answered. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. God bless us all.